So what are some different things? What are some techniques? What are some things that we have found to be effective when we're trying to spark up this energy, right? Fuel this energy tank. When we're trying to fill up our gas tanks, fill up our car, kind of like we talked about in the last episode. And so number one for me, when I am going through this and having these time periods, and they come, sporadically throughout the year, is I have to check my mindset. That's where I kind of have to start. I have to, first of all, recognize, okay, the problem here might be me. It might, in fact, be myself. That might be why my classroom is mundane or boring, or my kids aren't excited to be there, or why my kids aren't excited to learn, is because I am the issue. And so I think it starts there. And really, for me, checking my mindset of, am I seeing this as I have to, versus, and we talked about this a little bit last episode, versus I get to. Or maybe my mindset is so focused on all of the negative things like you were talking about in the school. Maybe there's parent, I'm having parents who I'm struggling with, or maybe my administration and I aren't seeing eye to eye, or maybe I'm struggling with a difficult colleague. And so I have to check my mindset about where my focus is placed. Because if my focus is placed on those parent relationships right now that I'm struggling with, or on my administration, or on, a difficult colleague, then I'm too focused on the wrong thing. And that has a huge impact in the way that I instruct every single day.
Yeah, and it's hard to take, especially, and that's real. Like if a parent sends you a harsh email, or like you were saying,
and
colleague,
it only takes one.
it only takes one. It's one of those things. That sits with you, and especially if it's in the moment, especially if it happens that day. And so you definitely have to check yourself. You have to check your mindset. But on that particular scenario, what I have found is, and you're always going to think about it no matter what, because it hurts. And you're like, oh my gosh, you try to chunk your time. Like you just take it moment by moment, hour by hour. If you are an educator, and say, okay, that's what it was. Let's block it out for these next 45 minutes, and let's just get in there and let's dive into it. And then after those 45 minutes, you can allow yourself to kind of reflect on whatever that scenario was. If it was that email or whatever it is, okay, 5 minutes, I'm gonna think about that. And then again, I'm gonna chunk that block of time out. And I think a lot of this happens with teachers and parents. Parents can get emails, parents can get phone calls that they may not, oh my gosh, Johnny was doing so-and-so. Like, chunk that time. Allow yourself to kind of grieve that, understand it, but then, hey, we're going to wipe it out and we're going to full in, because it's not, at the end of the day, it should not make a direct impact on your instruction or the time that you're spending with your kids. And if you chunk that time, you could be specific about how you're going to use that time.
Well, and I think what you're talking about too is compartmentalizing.
Yeah, exactly.
Your classroom, and recognizing that we can't just let one bad interaction with a colleague, or one bad email, or our administration be the one factor that you have to think about it like this. And this is kind of overwhelming to a degree when I say this, but you're allowing one bad parent email to then affect the lives of 25 kids,
exactly.
Right? And so that's what I mean when I say I have to check my mindset as far as, wow, what is my purpose in this classroom? And listen, this is hard as educators, and this is what you're talking about with compartmentalizing. You have to take care of yourself. And as educators, it is okay to let a parent email upset you, because you are human. It is okay to let an administrator who might not be supportive of you hurt your feelings. Like, you are real, you are human. But it's hard because then we can't carry those emotions into our daily instruction. And that's where the compartmentalizing comes. And, it kind of reminds me of something that we talked about with our friend Daniel Patterson. We were talking about anxiety with worry hours, right?
Yeah.
And so I have a certain amount of time a day that I'm going to allow myself to worry.
Yeah.
But then after that, I've got to really push that to the side to continue to move throughout my day. And so I think the same is true here. If you are having those difficult interactions, or it's really about naming. Right? Naming what is causing you to maybe have negative energy, or to have, what is sucking your energy. Is it a bad relationship with a colleague? Is it a parent? Is it an administrator? And really saying, okay, let me focus on this now, but then I've got to put this out of the way when it comes time for my instruction. And so that's something that I have to do as well. But honestly, I find that once I do put it out of my mind and I get focused on my true purpose in that classroom, which are those kids,
right,
then I start to see my energy change and
Yeah.
shift. And that honestly boosts my energy because I'm like, wow, look at my kids. If I
Yeah.
go in there excited and they return that energy, that motivates me to want to continue.
Yeah, and I think the other part of it, just dealing with that, is as a teacher, you are isolated because you're the only adult in the room with those children all day long,
And
and
that's
so
hard.
you can't share your feelings with anybody. And same thing if you're a parent. I mean, if you're a parent, and I mean, if you're a single parent, for sure. Oh my gosh, like you don't have anyone that you can talk to, that you can kind of lean on in those situations. And so we want to encourage you to find somebody that you can talk to, that can be your accountability partner, that can be your cheerleader. But we do want to advise you to not be that negative person. Just because you get a negative email, that doesn't mean that you spew negativity throughout the day and throughout your community, whether it's the school, whether it's at home, whether it's family, whether it's the neighborhood. You confide in that person. You tell them, like Hope said, you name what's bothering you about it. And then that will release some of that tension away to allow you to be the best person you can for those kids during the day.